What's up again, everybody? I wanted to do a quick little video, maybe no more than 10-15 minutes. I guess we'll see what I end up talking about, but I just wanted to go over a monthly recap here. So overall in the month, I finished down $200, 41% win rate, spending $250 in commissions. So I mean, overall I'm down $450 on the month, which largely in part was due to this horrible week that I had. I mean, really, that just this week is what really just absolutely killed me. The thing that I added to these weekly and the monthly thing here is this profit and loss for non-compliance. So what this means is that whenever I record a trade now, I have this compliance tab here, and I record whether or not I followed my rules completely or if I made a mistake. So obviously I have up to 9 mistakes that I could make at any given time here. So I got yes, didn't cut my partial fast enough, exited too early, added too early, didn't exit by 6 deals, a bunch of other things. So what I found out is that of this week here, about $116 that I lost were due to me not following my rules, or at least partly in due to me not following my rules. And in total, the entire month, about $180 was because of me not following what I should be, sticking to my rules, sticking to the plan and whatnot. So really, I didn't have my rules in place that I started towards. I think it was the beginning of this week, last week, where I told myself, okay, I need to make 2 rules for myself because that week was horrible and that stuff just can't happen again. So I made 2 rules. One is that I will never at any point be down more than $50. It simply just isn't worth it. On any given trade, I never risk more than $50, so if I'm ever down $50, I don't want to end up turning into something like this where I lose 78 on a trade and then I get the 76 here, 65, 55, 50. I mean, these are just absolutely huge losers. Another thing that I didn't keep track of that I'm kind of interested in, I'll count it up here in a second. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I had 12 trades that went past what I was risking. So of these, what is that? 36? Is that right? Yeah, 36 trades. Of those 36 losers, a third of those were losses that were larger than, well, maybe not larger than $50, but larger than -1R. I ended up closing out those trades more than what I anticipated from the beginning of the trade to get out at. So there's obviously a lot of extra money to be lost in that. Like this one, I mean, that could have been a $30 loser. This could have been maybe 30 something, yeah, 31. So I mean, I lost a lot of money on that sense as well. That's actually something that I should keep track of too. I need another piece of paper. So November goals. Number 1 is pay attention to losses being bigger than 1R. So clearly, I mean, I'm managing my risk a lot better though, especially, the last week. After this week is when things really changed and I started, I managed stuff a lot better, taking profits at the right spot. Another thing I mean, this is the first full month that I traded since I got out of my mentoring with my mentor. You can see I only traded, half the month, taking 4 trades in September, so that doesn't really count for too much. But this was the first full month here. I mean, I almost hit every single day. There's a few days that I didn't trade, but I mean, it's not looking terrible, I mean, I'm breaking even basically on 3 weeks, and then if I just get rid of that 1 week and fix my mistakes, I'm making money, and that's the goal. That's the consistency that I'm trying to aim towards. I had a lot of opportunity, especially for the past couple weeks, really, pretty much every single day that I've been noticing, you know, there's trades that I'm missing, that I'm not taking, that I should be taking. At least I'm seeing the patterns play out and I'm seeing the trade, but there's something in me that's saying it's not an A plus setup and I don't want to be taking it. It's just a matter of clicking the button. You know, if I see the pattern, I should take the pattern. You know, just keeping losers small and trying to find a way to make my winners even bigger. I started recording compliance this month. I'm at least halfway through the month. I did a ton of spreadsheet work too. I mean, I'm just now really starting to get involved in pivot tables. I don't know what just happened there. That's not right. Okay, I'll have to deal with that one later. But I mean, they got the gap stats as well. I mean, there's no limit to the amount of things that you can be recording. But yeah, I'd say about managing my risk a lot better. I mean, I kept my losers really small this week. You know, ever since this week, I haven't had a loser bigger than this EXP trade, which was another mistake that I made because I entered in. I shouldn't have even been in that trade in the first place. But I mean, looking at it like that, you know, biggest loser's $30. You know, my winners are, you know, really not big at all, but I mean, they're winners in general. I mean, the goal is to make money, trying to be consistent. I mean, you obviously always want those home run trades where you're going to get, you know, 100 plus, but if you don't think you're going to get 100 plus, then there's no reason to not let it be 30 or 40. So, I mean, I'll take a $30 or $40 trade still anytime, which I think that's what I was struggling with towards the beginning of the month, is I didn't really understand that. Because, I mean, you always hear the phrase, cut your losers short, let your winners run, but it's the how much in between that's kind of the problem. That can't be right. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I mean, the numbers aren't disgustingly bad. It's just, hopefully, I feel like November is going to be a much better month because I feel like I have a much better picture and idea of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. The goals for the month is, you know, keep your losers small, make sure I'm taking profit target at the proper profit target places, make sure I'm placing them in the right spot. You know, I think another situation today where I took this EVHC trade here, I only risked $25 on the trade, but I only took 250 shares, so I mean, I could have pumped this size up again, but, you know, I'm always looking at the worst case scenario again. I mean, it could have turned against me, but it also, you know, at the same time, it could have gone straight up, gone in my favor, and could have been a much bigger winner than $80. So another goal that I need to work on in November is how to make winners bigger. Obviously, size is number one. But the problem that I'm having is holding on to the trade. You know, how long am I going to hold on to it? Because you always want to sell into resistance because, you know, whenever it's resistance, you think the stock's going to bounce off of it. You don't think that it's just going to, you know, you're trading it on the ones and it breaks through the 1 and the 20, and then all of a sudden you got to deal with the 5 coming down on it. You know, you should be selling into that because you would expect it to bounce off it. You wouldn't play thinking, or you wouldn't trade thinking that it's going to just blow right through it and continue, you know, give you $1 to a $2 trade. You know, that's just not how it's going to work. That's not how it's supposed to work. That's not how it should work. You know, if I'm going to get lucky, that's great, but I need to be playing the probabilities game. You know, if it's gonna bounce more time than it's gonna blow through it. So keeping losers smaller. You know, I've been playing with the half size still on trades that call for the half size anyway. Looks like Microsoft was one that I took half size here and then added into it again. So I mean, that's another way of managing risk. You know, if it's going to make it through that first target, you know, you get a half size and you add again if it breaks through that second. And then, you know, if it doesn't break through, well, then you got a small loser. And that's what, if you're going to have a loser, you want it to be as small as possible. And I think that's what was happening with this MDLZ trade. I was only in 50 shares and risking 11 cents on it. I mean, only risking $17 on it, so you know, that's definitely a half size trade that didn't get to that second half. So again, you know, keeping losers smaller. I don't know, it was a red month, but it doesn't feel like it was a bad month. It feels like it was just a huge learning experience, because there's just, I don't know, there was so much packed into the month that I learned that I have to trade with now, and understand, and just gotta keep the mentality going, and really trying to just keep it small and make the winners bigger. So going back to the beginning of the month, whenever I made my weekly goals, so the first goal that I wrote down was to ask the stock what it's doing, what are you trying to do, where do you want to go, and make a plan and determine the risk reward for every single trade. I definitely did the risk reward now. I have a new system where I write down the risk, the executed price, and then the profit target, so I know exactly what it is, how many cents I'm risking compared to how many cents I want to make, so that I can take that partial whenever I'm up 1R, if I need to take the partial. Mistakes that I made, I guess, in the previous month was not sticking to my stop loss rule. Feel like I still had trouble with that one. Debating too much on where to put the stop. Still kind of struggle with that. Sometimes it's the 9, sometimes it's the 20, sometimes it's even the 50 or the VWAP. It just depends on the trade, really. The only problem with that one is how long it is that I'm waiting for that to determine where I want to put that, because sometimes I end up missing the trade. My sell half button was broken. Pretty sure my sell half button is working now. I placed my entry too far away. Used too small position size. I'm still struggling with that too small position size. I think that's probably just a fear of losing, really. I don't want to lose too much money, so I'm playing it a little smaller, just in case. If it's going to be a loser, I don't want it to be a big loser, so I'm going to play with a little smaller size. I think I need to find that sweet spot. If I have enough confidence in the trade, well, then I can be up in my size. Because this EVHC trade, I wasn't too confident on it, so that's part of the reason why I only used 250 shares, but I could have gotten away with using 300 shares on that. At max, I could have used 500 shares, but with the way that thing was trading, 500 shares is that's crazy risk to be taken. Exiting too early, getting nervous. Struggle with that one a little bit still. Didn't follow my rules, didn't use half size to start. Again, just depends on the trade. It didn't re-enter. Didn't re-enter when the mood finally happened. Yeah, that's still happening. There were a couple trades this month. I think one was that with this Amgen trade, and then today it was the CHKP trade, where I was looking at them and they were just low volume, and I took the first trade and they ended up being losers. But actually, in this case, it was with the Celgene. I chose to trade Amgen instead of Celgene, and I should have stuck with Celgene because it had the better volume and the better setup. I ended up missing out on the real moves because I was looking at something else, or I just lost interest. If the stock's going to make a move, it's going to make a move, and you want to be part of it. So I just need to make sure that I'm hanging in there and still looking at the stock. Next week goals was have a set defined stop loss and stick to it. Well, I had set stop losses, but sticking to it was the problem. Record RR every single trade, make sure I'm taking the proper position based on risk and profit targets and moving averages. Doing a little better with that. Feels a little better anyway. Didn't use proper size based on risk, didn't trade the proper time frame. Same situation with the 5s. I'm going to write that down for a goal too, is look at the bigger time frame more. Because sometimes whenever I think the 5 is telling me one thing, it actually might be telling me something else. I think it was, can't remember which trade it was, but it was just a little bit ago, where I was looking at the 5s and I was thinking, okay, well, it looks like a really good long here because it was holding above the VWAP. Well, the problem was, I think it was the third 5-minute candle on that trade. It ended up being a bearish engulfing candle, and it covered the whole move of that first or the second 5-minute candle. So that's telling me that instead of a long, maybe it could also be a good short. Because my bias on that stock was, okay, it's not going to be a good short, so I'm not going to short it. Ended up not being a long, and it ended up being a pretty good short. But I should have been able to say, okay, well, because of that 5-minute candle, it could be a good short too. So it was one of those trades that could have gone either way. So look at the bigger time frame. 5s are always going to be telling me something. More mistakes, not taking good risk-reward trades. Made that mistake with that first Celgene trade that I took. Was a not a good risk-reward. I really forced the trade. Didn't use half side, didn't exit after the 50 held. Yeah, I had earlier in the month I had a lot of problems with taking profits. You know, I would let, unfortunately, my charts broke, otherwise I'd be able to see it really clearly how, I mean, there'd be a lot of action where I'd be up, you know, $50 on the trade, and then I'd turn around and let it, you know, come right against me and end up being a loser or something. I guess I can kind of look at it like this here. So my max favorable compared to my max. So I was up 25, I was up 40, I was up $45 on this trade, and I let it run all the way against me for almost, you know, almost $45 loss. I was up 30 bucks on this trade, ended up being a huge loser. This was a really bad one, was this JWN. I was up in my profit target, and I didn't take anything. Up 20, down 84. Up 40, down 45. See, these are the trades that just can't happen. Like this can't happen ever. Up 52, down 48. You know, that stuff. Up 48, down 51, and I ended up closing it out at break even just about. And then it gets a little bit better after I start noticing those things. So yeah, I mean, those are trades that stuff can't happen. I mean, those are huge losers that should be winners, if not a small winner at least. So that's definitely what I need to write that one down too. Take profits. Just if you're up 1R and stop loss break even. You know, there is no point in being up 1R in any trade and letting it go against you just because you think it might go farther than 1R. That's just, none of my good trades have ever done that, and I don't think they ever will. So I mean, there's no point in ever letting that happen. And I think that was another problem that I was having, is I didn't really have, you know, like I write, you know, you want to take profits, and you want to take your money, you don't want to give it back. Well, where do you want to do that? And I think I've been struggling with that for the past month, because I don't have any really set defined rules as to what it is that I want to do that. So I think that this up 1R stop loss break even thing, or taking profits at the first profit target and then taking more profits at the next area, that's going to be a huge help down the road, both ways, as in making my profits bigger and limiting my losses. So what else? Didn't stick to the 5-minute stop loss. Didn't. Yeah, just a bunch of the same things, really. Next week was, so this was the bad week. This is what I wrote for my goals for this week. I wrote take profits when told to. Didn't do it. Cut losses when told to. Definitely didn't do it. Recognize when the trade isn't the best and readjust. If it's a good break, you can hold for a retest. It's an interesting goal that I wrote because it's kind of different now. If it's a good break and I want to hold for a retest. If it's a good break, I would want to be taking profits, obviously at 1R, if it gets to that point. But if it's a good break, it shouldn't come back for a retest in the first place. So I think that's kind of a redundant goal there. If not, look to take profits early and cut losses. Well, yeah, same situation, take profits at 1R. Mistakes I made, traded against the pattern, not waiting for the real move. I don't think I'm trading against the pattern anymore. I think I've gotten good enough that I can tell whenever, you know, if it's a wedge, it's a wedge. If it's not a wedge, it's not a wedge. You know, there's a really fine line between a symmetrical triangle and then, you know, that triangle turning into a wedge, because pretty much all triangles that break out, if they have a nice move, they turn into wedges. That's like the next step. Hold numbers of profit target areas, been paying attention to that. Pay attention to candle types. Didn't do that too much, especially with the 5-minute, because the 5-minute candle types are the biggest ones that I want to be paying attention to. Write that one down too. Level 2 showing sellers, it broke through, retested lower, it came back, and there were still sellers there, and I still didn't take my profit. So taking profit was probably the biggest issue this month. Easily, because I'm wondering, so if I'm looking at just my max P&L, my max P&L was $1,500, and my minimum PL total was $1,600. So what does that tell me? That tells me that really my trades are almost just about 1-to-1, but at the same time I'm letting these losers go really far against me, so far so that it's enough to really take away from the max profit that I'd be up in these trades. That's not right. Minus 300. What happened? 73.96. Okay, so now things are obviously a little different. So now my max is bigger than my minimum. Yeah, now it's at 1,300. So I was up $200 compared to being down, you know, for the minimum drawdown. So just another stat that lets me know some stuff. After breakdown, next candle engulfed the entire move, and I didn't exit and reassess. I just held in there. I think another issue that I was having is whenever a stock makes a move but it doesn't make enough of a move, the problem is, do I want to let this thing run all the way down to where I was originally risking that much money? Or, you know, like where's the line that I say, okay, I need to exit this trade for a tiny loss and then, you know, re-enter if it does something again? So I think that's another experience question that I'm just gonna have to come to terms with whenever I get enough trades to look at, really. And then for the last week before I entered this week, mistakes was I didn't respect a higher time frame, didn't set the proper profit targets again, didn't take it the right area, traded the wrong time frame, didn't take the right pattern. I forced a descending triangle when it was a wedge. I mean, you know, just like the symmetrical triangles and the wedges are very close to being the same, then it's kind of the same thing. You know, wedges and ascending triangles or descending triangles can be really close too. And I think that guild trade, where is it? This guild trade that I took was a really good descending triangle, and it was clearly a descending triangle because it was being stuck at a whole number. I mean, wedges are obviously usually not around whole numbers. They usually turn into ascending or descending triangles if they kind of get stuck. Because I know before I started trading this whole style, I would have that wall trade, and those wall trades were basically ascending or descending triangles if they were a good one. And you know, wedges don't do that, so if it's not around a whole number, chances are it's probably not an ascending or descending triangle. Waited too long to take profits, gave it too much leeway, forced my risk reward onto the market. That was that Celgene trade. Gave stock way too much room for a loss, and I didn't give that stock enough time. Goals that week were to take profits at the correct spots, setting proper profit targets. If it doesn't make the move, I need to rethink the plan. Don't let your partial turn you negative. And I had plenty of opportunities to cut losses, and I said maybe if I say that, I need to be getting out of the trade. So it's just kind of the same situation, you know, sticking to the rules, sticking to the plan before you hop into the trade. I think that's just what it's gonna have to be for November then. Just stick to the plan. Stick to the plan, but have a plan before you enter. So that's really all I got for this week, for this month. You know, November should be pretty good. I feel really good going into this month. You know, I got a lot of new things to work with. Should end up, I think the goal for this month, I would like to be green about $250. I know originally my plans were for every day is I wanted to make $50 a day. So it'd be $250 a week. So it'd be like $1,000 a month. Well, what I want to do for this month is I want to take it slow. And I mean, obviously, if I make $1,000 a month, that's great. But I want to have at least $50 a week, because I can't be. There has to be a point, you know, where I say I can't just say I don't want to lose this month, I don't want to be red this month. And it can't even be I just want to be green. Well, it can be I just want to be green, because that's the goal. You just don't want to lose money, but you know, how much money do you want to make a month? How much do you want to try and make a month? You know, what's going to be your limit? So I think I want to go for at least $50 a week. So I mean, what am I this week? This week I don't know why it's sticking to the count. This week I'm up $40. So I don't want to be the guy that, you know, hits his monthly goal and then stops trading for the entire month. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to be in a situation where I'm up $50 on a week and then I give it back on the last Friday or something like that. So I think setting a goal of at least $50 a week is going to be a good deal, and it should be something like 200, 250 at the end of the month. I got this week. It's like about 5 weeks. I mean, it's definitely doable. It's definitely possible. It's just a matter of, you know, taking the right trades, sticking in there for the real move, keeping your losers smaller and letting your winners run. And I think I've found a pretty good spot where I wanna cut the losers, and then now it's just gonna have to be, you know, how much do I want to let a winner run. So good month in terms of learning experience. November should be good. Looking forward to it. That's all I really got to talk about right now, and I'll be back trading again tomorrow.